You're listening to Just a Couple of Jerks with me, Paul Winstanley, and another regular person from the IT community. This episode, I'm speaking with Harjit Dhaliwal. Now, you guys know Harjit. If you're in the community, he's everywhere. He's the face, or the community face, of events like Ignite, and whenever you see him out there, he'll arrive with a smile on his face and a camera in your face. He'll get a selfie, and next thing you know, you'll be tweeted all over the internet. He's a really good guy. We go through how he moved over from Malaysia and got going in a fish out of water scenario. And we talk about how he got involved in tweeting, social media, blogging, the whole thing, really. And he's really out there with his Facebook group, Tech Connect. And he helps the community through Facebook as well. We hear some interesting stories about that. It was a real good chat, and I hope you enjoy it. So check out this new episode of Just a Couple of Jerks. Yeah. So what you get a whole day of the living room, and all the kids are sat in their rooms, broadband all day. Yeah. And then the minute you come to start and record,
that's when they want to come in, right?
They want to come in the room, and you're like, oh, I've had enough. Anyway. Okay. So Harjit Dhaliwal, thank you very much for joining me today on my new podcast. This is the third episode that I've recorded, and it's about having a chat with yourself, get to know you a bit more, and also find out about you and about, you've been an expert in the IT community. And ultimately what we do find out from all this is we're just ordinary guys trying to make it through the day, get things done. Right. And ultimately, we're just a couple of jerks, yeah? That's the idea. It's not being derogatory to you. We're just kind of muddling our way through, yeah?
Right,
so, yeah, thanks for coming on board.
All right, thanks. Thanks for having me.
And, Harjit, I've known you for a while now.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, you said it. Yeah, good couple of years, maybe more than that, I would have thought. But
yeah,
we met
more than that. We met at MMS in Minneapolis, right? But we were friends before that too. So
no, we didn't. Must be someone else. MVP Summit as our first.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It was MVP Summit. I saw you coming in through the side door where the buses drop off, right? I think if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Almost. Do you know what? You know too many people.
Yeah, I think that's where it was. Yeah, in the Hyatt.
I met you just prior to that. I thought it might have been that actually. I think you're right actually. And then did we meet again at the Adaptiva night?
Yep, and we were at the Adaptiva party too. Yeah.
Yeah, so your memory's better than mine then. So even though you thought it was MMS.
Yeah, I thought it was MMS, but no, it was definitely MVP Summit, yeah.
I've never made it to MMS, and this year is looking very edgy, isn't it?
Oh my God, this year's looking horrible for the rest of the year, I think.
Desperate. Yeah. So, I mean, the last couple of guests, Adam and Mike, we chatted about the COVID-19 situation. I think it's worth having that chat now, really, isn't it? Because how's that impacting you professionally? How's that impacting you on a personal level?
Yeah, it is. It is impacting. I mean, now the complete shift to work from home. I do work from home from once or twice a week sometimes, right? But it's a complete shift to home where it's one thing when you're alone at home and you're working and you can do your thing, right? But then when you have your entire family at home, the whole dynamics changes, right? It's like they're moving around, they're doing their thing. You can't stop them, right? Life goes on, stuff like that, and you're like, wait, but I'm working. I've got calls, I've got teams and things like that, and so a lot of adjustments in that sense. Um,
They're actually realizing you do work, yeah.
exactly.
You have work to do. My God, you
Yeah.
just sat at home. Yeah,
And the other thing is that I find, like, if you're not careful with work from home, you end up working a lot. You could end up working like a lot of hours, right? Because you're always just there. You're in your house, so it's not like hey, oh, it's time's up. I gotta leave work now. I gotta run home. That kind of a thing. You're already home, and
it's
so it's
dangerous, isn't
also
it?
the other thing I learned, and I've been saying this to a bunch of people too. One of the tips I received was creating a separation of space in your house wherever you are. So, for example, like in the past, I would just use my laptop and I would sit, either at the kitchen table or on the sofa and, just plug away all day long, no problem. But then when you're actually doing it 5 days a week and you have family in the house and stuff, now it's like, wait, if I sit where I sit on the sofa, I'm working all day long, even throughout the night, because that's not a separation of space. So like your living room is supposed to be like your entertainment area. Your kitchen is where you eat, right? Your bedroom is where you go to sleep and stuff like that. So you got to carve out a nook or a corner somewhere, whether it's in your basement or whether it's a spare bedroom or something. So you can step out of it and say, hey, I'm going to go get a coffee. And, so
Move
that has,
around a bit.
yeah,
Yeah, and isolate yourself in a different way, isn't it? Shift
exactly.
yourself in. Yeah, I should do that really because I'm sat on the sofa and I suddenly go, oh, I'm not moving at all.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, I'm moving into the kitchen, making like say making a coffee. Yeah, I make sure when I have lunch at home, I'm sat in that room, away from the screen.
Right.
But I do have the computer at the back of the room, but I don't tend to sit there. I just put my feet up and I put some music on and things like that. But then it's, as you say, it's that, oh geez, I'm just sat here and I'm sat here all day, and it is like it's the space for other things, really, isn't it?
Right. And if you sit there all day long, let's say where you have your TV in the front or your sofa and all that, even if you put your laptop away on the side, it doesn't stop you like every, so many minutes. You'll turn around and you grab the laptop. Oh, let me check Facebook. Oh, wait. Oh,
Yeah,
let me check if there's an email from work, right? Oh, let me check. Oh, wait. Oh, there's someone, put in a request for this. I'll just take care of it. I'm right here. No problem. Right? So you're
Harsh,
always in work
I,
mode.
I never thought you came off the computer anyway. I mean, you're always visible. But yeah, totally, isn't it? I suppose
Yeah.
it's disconnecting from that, isn't it? And it's hard. I mean, do you work at home a lot, or has it just been enforced by the current situation?
It's more enforced by the current situation, but my work has been really flexible too. With my department's always been able to, like, if we are taking care of something at home, we're like, hey, I'm going to be home because I'm, getting an electrician coming over or something like that, or hey, I've got to deal with the kids or something, right? So we're pretty flexible in that sense. So we've been doing that already. So it's not a anything different. It's
Yeah,
just that now you're like complete full time mode. It's like I said, not only your equipment changes too, right? Instead of from a laptop, you're like, I can't, I can't just look at a laptop screen all day long and have, you know, a zillion windows, your RDP window and your email and your Teams and all that stuff. Now you need a bigger screen. Now you need a table,
yeah.
right? Yeah. So it's different. But it's coming along. I mean, I've adjusted to it now and stuff like that. It's no big deal. The
Yeah, is it a couple of weeks you've been doing it now, roughly? Would you
Yeah,
say?
okay, at least a couple of weeks
Yeah,
now. Yeah.
yeah. And what industry is your company work in? Are you
We're in higher education,
okay?
so it's a university. Yeah.
So has that finished then? Have they pulled the plug on it for the rest of the year, or?
It is full for the rest of the semester, which is till end of May. So if basically what the last couple of weeks, or at least last week, was just crazy busy with trying to support people on Teams. All of a sudden, our Teams usage just skyrocketed. Everybody wants access to it. Everybody needs to be licensed. And then we also had to get live events with Teams configured and train people on it because we were having some um, so instead of students going to campus for, the ones that were accepted for next year, they usually come to, on campus and meet with the different departments and do a tour and stuff like that. Now they can't do that because we're a, stay home, stay quarantine kind of a mode, right? So we have to like switch all of that into live events. And so that was a lot of like meetings last week about how to use it, how to do production, how to do speaker mode and stuff like that. So it all worked out. I mean, but it was definitely challenging. Um, yeah. And then it's you and I both do a lot of config manager stuff and Windows 10 management and all that stuff. That too has changed um, a bit in terms of wait, all of these users that I used to support mostly used to be on campus, right? They were they were in your internal network, and now they're all remote. They're all staying home and working from home with their laptops or desktops that they took from their office, right? So you're like, wait, how do I support these people now? One of the challenges we are facing, and you may have the answers, or your listeners may have the answers for this, is that our users don't have local admin access on their machines. So they are at home now. They're calling the help desk and saying, "Hey, I'm having trouble installing the software." They're like, because they're getting, the UAC prompts, but they don't have local
Mm-hmm.
admin access. They can't bypass it. So the help
Yeah.
desk says, "Hey, no problem. We'll remote connect using this software called Simple Help, right? It's like a
Mm-hmm.
remote." So they do that. And I also ask for elevation on the end user side, and they can't do it. So the credentials don't get transferred over, right? And so they're like, I can't help you. It's
They're
you
kind of
know.
stuck.
And also we're noticing like certain applications like Teams, for example, um, if you haven't used Teams before and let's say it's installed and you join a meeting, one of the first things it asks you is this, the network, allow your network information, the domain, public and private. Um,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
so it'll say allow, and you try to click on that. If you don't have admin privileges, that you can't do it. So it's a catch 22, right?
Yeah. It's adding some extra challenge into the mix. Yeah.
Right. So then you say, hey, okay, why don't you a VPN to the to campus, and they're like, okay, so where do I get it? Oh, here, you need the VPN software. You're back again into that same situation.
Yeah. 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 And because it all happened very quickly, didn't
It
it?
happened
Because
so fast. We had no time to like think about this, right? It was just immediate, like, hey, we're done tomorrow. Everybody out.
and you can't stand up in for and just give them the admin password. Yeah.
Well, we
No.
don't know
No.
what the
No.
admin passwords are on all these machines,
Oh right.
right? It's not the same, right? It's all different.
What, are they lapse based? Are they or something or?
I, so they were imaged and stuff like that, right? There's a
No.
department that images them and puts whatever generic
All
password,
separate. Right. Right.
right?
God.
How do you
And I
solve this
suppose.
problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what we'll do, we'll throw that out to the community, and they can start some chat on that.
Yeah.
It's you're stuck in a position there.
In the
It's
past,
it.
I had seen a tool. I think it was like a third party tool someone had created, but it's no longer available. And it was something about give me admin or give me admin access or something like that. That the name of the tool was. So somehow you just ran this applet. It granted you temporary admin
Oh yeah.
access. And, so I'm wondering if there's something like that available out there.
Yeah.
You
Do you
know,
know what? I did some work for a company where they had a similar tool. It was written in house, and they gave it to all the users so the user could go in and self elevate to admin. And it just created application chaos across the estate. So when they moved to Windows 10, it was just like, okay, we now
right,
need to audit this and we need to work out what the hell's going on.
right.
It was, you know, more pain than it was necessary over time.
Yeah,
The
it's
last thing
not
you want
it's
to do
not
is
like we
give
want
them.
to grant them like, complete access for forever. It was just like one-off use cases,
Yeah, yeah,
temporarily for the day or for that particular application. Because the other things that we're noticing too is that uh, some of these applications, like I think it's even Teams, that will also prompt you or for the Windows Defender exclusions that will pop up, and you're like, and you can't exclude the path to the DLLs, right? It's very challenging, man.
and is that keeping you busy then? All those
Very
sort of
busy.
things,
Yeah,
all those
it's
challenges, trying to get around them, trying to find a way to solve it.
yeah, and so I thought I was doing well. I said, hey, no problem. We have software center with config manager, and I can deploy applications that and users won't need admin rights and all that stuff. No problem. And then I discovered early last week, oh wait, I can't. I'm not getting any policies or applications um, outside the network, like internet-based clients. And I'm like, wait, but I do have IBCM set up. I had it set up for years, and I know it was working. Like, what the hell happened? And
Right. God.
so all of a sudden, I'm like,
Only when you get thrown into that scenario do you find out that issue. Was that the case? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I'm like, oh no, I had a lifeline here. This would have been perfect. So I can
Oh,
VPN into the network, no problem. It works, right? I'm internal. I will remote in into a VM that's internal, no problem. Everything works with config manager. But internet based, nothing. While I open up a case and stuff like that with Microsoft, and we were going back and forth, and they were saying, "Oh, I think it's your certificates." I'm like, "No, it's not my certificates. Trust me, everything's fine." So it came down to some issues with IAS, like, okay, what's going on with IAS and all that stuff, and long story short, they ended up breaking my management point even further, and then we got it fixed. But it came down to two things. One was a specific port that we didn't realize was 11.512 or 11 something. It was like a it wasn't just 443 or port 80 that you need to open up on your firewalls at your border firewalls and stuff like that,
yeah,
right? It's this other one. It's in the documentation actually. It just popped up for
yeah. I
us.
know the one. Yeah,
So we had to get that opened up. Okay, that's one. The other thing was that we had to remove the checkbox for what is that? Check uh, the CRL.
revocation.
Yes, and that was
Yeah.
checked. So we
Okay.
unchecked that, open up the ports, refinagle stuff with check the permissions and stuff like that in IAS and everything like that, and then things are working. But here's a caveat though: it only works after you VPN to your network and you run your machine policy and stuff. Once it once it does all that stuff, you disconnect. It will start working from that point on.
Yeah. It needs to know. It needs to talk to a management point, doesn't it, and get a
Right,
policy
exactly,
and know about the existence of all this. Yeah.
exactly. So at least I got that part fixed. But now, how do I communicate that with users? Right? Hey, by the way, should we VPN?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I haven't got the VPN software, like you say, and I can't install it. So catch 22.
Yeah.
Challenging times, and yeah, it's keeping you busy. That's the thing. So, how long have you been doing all this, Harjit?
Oh my
The config
God.
manager stuff. Have you been working there for quite a while?
Yeah, I've been at the university for about just over 16 years. So I would say I was at least I would say I've been using Config Manager for like 15 years maybe or so. Um,
So right back to SMS days, or was it
yeah,
around the
yeah,
time?
started with
Yeah,
SMS and then 2007 um then it,
that's when I hopped on board around that time. I didn't really touch SMS, but I didn't at all touch SMS. So
yeah, I was on the SMS days and then I started with that. And then yeah, 2007. And then when we implemented, because I switched departments at that time, and so we implemented 2007 mainly for endpoint manager, not for to do anything else, right? Because we were switching over from Symantec and McAfee and all that fun stuff, right? We're like, hey, why do we want to pay all that stuff when we can get it for free? And it so we that's why we implemented uh, SCCM 2007, and then that turned into 2012, and then right 2012 R2, and now here we are with current branch, and it's been great. It's been awesome. I love it.
yeah, it's good. It's good fun.
Hmm.
And now we can quite easily upgrade, thankfully, with
Yeah,
the current
yeah.
branch. It's just a breeze these days, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Um, I've only managed to brick one environment really early on, and luckily it was a dev environment with the upgrade, and the Microsoft product group, Aaron in particular, picked up on something. I posted a message. This was pre MVP days on a. I think it was the my IT forum. I can't remember which it was. Anyway, he'd monitored this, seen that I'd got this particular error message upgrading from the first CB version to the second, and he was like, "Oh, we've not seen this one before." So
Yeah.
they jumped straight on it, and it was like, "Okay, wow." And it was the product group being really interested in something they hadn't seen,
Right.
and trying to work out why it had happened. So obviously, I had to go through the channels with Microsoft and logging a call and
Hmm.
everything, but it got pushed through to them very quickly, and they were on it, and it was like, well, this is cool. And they've refined the process so much that when we look at upgrading Windows 10, we go, geez, you know, is this going to work for me? What do I need? I need to check my apps. I need to check my
Yeah.
drivers. I need to do a whole host of work. But with Config Manager, we're pushing this out every 3 months and not really caring at all,
Right. Right.
um, because it just works, doesn't it? It's
Yeah.
lovely,
I
really.
had what I like about where we are now with config manager and stuff and the team is all the telemetry stuff that they collect, right? So I can't remember which version it was, and I did an upgrade, and obviously through the updates and servicing module. And for some reason or another, I had some SQL errors. I had a SQL issue, and it wasn't a compatibility thing. It was I can't remember what it was. Anyway, so I'm like, oh man, what's going on here? And I think I tweeted or something like that, and I said, hey, is anybody else having this? Next thing you know, David James actually jumped on, and he said, hey, you know, send me this information by email. Send me your support ID for your site. And looks like you're one of the three people um, that is having this issue. So we were trying to figure
Yeah,
out who it is. Like they knew there was these right, but they didn't know who, right? And I was one of them.
yeah,
And it was pretty quick. I mean, they already had the data. They knew what to do. They sent me the fix, and I was good to go. So yeah,
yeah. It's I find it amazing that they're monitoring to that level.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
I mean, David obviously is active in the community anyway,
Right.
and he's always interested in seeing stuff like this. But that this is a thing. If you have a problem, um, I'm almost started going into an A-team thing there. If you have a problem and there's no one else to help, maybe you can call the product group. But
right.
yeah, so
And
ultimately,
our
if you,
community is also very good though. I mean, we are a tight knit community, especially the config manager folks, right? We're, like you, myself, and a bunch of others. Like we're always chatting, we're always connecting, we're always like, hey, I got this issue, can you help me out? Whatever. I mean,
yeah,
so
absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about, isn't it? I mean, this is,
right,
this is going back years now, just trying to find answers for things and seeing people in the community, and obviously pre-Twitter days. But
right.
I mean, I never used Twitter. I used to think, what the hell is this? Didn't have a clue. Because in my eyes, Harjit, you are the king of the social media, aren't you? That's, you're all over it. And just started on Twitter. I can't remember who said, "Oh, go on it, give it a go." And there's a bunch of people on here, and they're all chatting about the same thing. We're figuring out what the hell these hashtags meant. Getting a bit old. It's all for the kids, isn't
Wow.
it? It's like now I'm all over it, and my wife's going, "Can you get off the bloody Twitter?"
Oh yeah. If anybody wants to join just the one social media platform, I would always say do Twitter. I mean,
Yeah,
it's short, it's sweet, it's good, it's fast. The community is great. And people listen. Like I use it even for my personal life. Like for example, if I'm dealing with my phone company or the airlines or you know anything like that, right? I'll reach out through Twitter because they know if you do that and if they don't react to it, the the negative impact that will cause their companies is huge, right? So I always get resolutions that way through Twitter. So it's amazing.
it's that visibility, isn't it? It's out there
Exactly.
if you've got that complaint. And I mean, I tend to find that in the community, um, in our community, because Twitter can be horrible at times. There doesn't seem to be that element of nastiness at all. Everyone's working together. There's pretty cool people on there. There's no one trolling and mucking about that I've found. Hopefully, that's not going to be opening the floodgates for trolling my account. But yeah, you know what I mean. It really is a good bunch of people. I don't see any. I don't know if you've had any bad times via Twitter or anything like
No,
that with
no,
people.
everybody's pretty
Uh,
good. Well, almost seems like well behaved on Twitter, right? Compared to
yeah.
Facebook, your Facebook, you get, you know,
Right, is it all? Yeah,
yeah,
so Facebook, I'm really not. So I had a Facebook account years ago. I got bored of looking at people's food, and I got bored of people's. Here's a picture of all my kids on a holiday, and I was
right.
like, well, I'm not interested, really not. And so I just called it, and then I reactivated it to help promote the website.
Well, so the thing about
Um,
Facebook, I'll give you my how I use it. Like my regular account, I use it for just fun stuff for my own, right? And if you're my friend or whatever, if whatever junk I posted, that's what it is what it is, right? And then the way I do all my professional stuff is all within groups, and I'm more active in closed groups rather than public groups. So, for example, my Tech Connect, group, and there's several SCCM groups, right? And there's Azure, there's Intune, there's, Anoop has a bunch of groups as well, and so that's how I do my stuff. It's all within the groups because everything's contained there, you know. So you know who you're dealing with. Number one, they're your same type of people, right? Same IT professionals, kind of a thing. And then your outsiders who are your regular friends and your kids and your whoever, you know they are not involved with this. They don't see the discussions. They don't see this other stuff that you do because they don't need to. So that's how, if you're going to use Facebook, start doing that. Use in closed groups. You could create one for your podcast, whatever you call it, like jerks, right?
yeah,
And
just a
and
couple
then
of
and then
jerks.
create, yeah, a couple of jerks, and then close it. Don't keep it a public group, and then you can post your podcast there as well, and um, have some
So you're
chatter and
straight on
stuff.
it there with you're right with the socials straight away, Harjit. You've been there many times. It's how your mind's working. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I've managed to. I've created a website. So I've done the website. I'm now on. We've got the podcast on all the platforms. So we've got the Spotify. We've got SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn. So we
Oh
covered
yeah,
covered
that's
all the
great.
bases there. So, but it's yeah, I'm using Twitter to promote it. So maybe Facebook's next. But I just kept away from it, and I think you're a friend on Facebook. I've got maybe three others, if that. And I keep
I'm lucky
yeah.
then.
So privileged. Yeah,
I'm
I just
privileged.
dismiss everyone else. I just can't be bothered with it, and it's to me. There's information overload as well. So I struggle to keep up with everything, and Twitter's enough for me. So if I then go into Facebook and I'd have all these other things coming in, and then I have Slack and all these different things, I just haven't got the time. And
Right.
but I mean, you moderate, so Tech Connect's your thing, isn't it? And do you
Right.
moderate any other groups at Facebook as well?
Yeah, I do. I moderate the one with Anoop, the SCCM Config Manager Professionals one.
Oh, you're part of that as well, right? Okay.
Yeah, and I moderate a bunch of others too. I'm an admin of a bunch of those. Some local ones. I've got a one for my own town that I manage for the community, and then I've got one for the state of Vermont for roads. It's called VT Roads. So it's all about. I think I've got like over 30,000 people in that one, where people will like
Jeez,
post about road conditions and closed roads and crashes and things like
that's
that.
more
So
interesting than Config Manager by the sound of
yeah, it's a different
it.
vibes, and but the it's very interesting because the groups that are non-technical, I find them they're much more challenging to manage because you're dealing with very pure people's personalities. Like
Hmm.
people just like the technical side, people are very straightforward. Like, hey, yep. So what is it you don't understand about this thing about I don't know Windows 10? Well, what are your issues? Well, what are you running into? What's your error? Okay, boom, that's it, right? But whereas when you're dealing with the external people, they are like, oh yeah, they start talking politics, they start talking religion, they start giving you their own personal 2 cents about something, and you're like, this has nothing to do with anything. Like, just take your business elsewhere, right? Like, I'm done with this because now what you're doing is that you are creating a very hostile environment for the rest of your members of that group. So it's
This does that go back to what I was saying about Twitter about the community kind of
you
there
don't have that
seems
in
to
Twitter.
be
Twitter is that's why I love Twitter. It's that's what you see is what you get. That's it. That's all. You know.
yeah,
And
but
in
but
fact,
the
in fact, if
community
you act
itself,
right,
do you know what I mean?
and
It's kind
if
of
you
like
start acting like if you start acting like douchebags, like what some people do on Facebook, and if you do
yeah,
that on Twitter, you'll get a backlash. People
right.
will hammer you. You know, and and the spread is even higher, right? I mean, if you have 2,000 followers and you post something and it goes out to them, and then if they have 2,000 followers, it just keeps growing that way, right? Spreads
Well,
so
yeah.
fast.
Well, we're seeing that in real life with metrics and exponential growth, aren't we? It's
Right, right,
yeah, things happen very, very quickly. So, how much
right.
time do they take up for you on a sort of day to day level? Is it a few minutes, or is it take an hour or two?
What, to manage all my social media stuff?
Well, the Facebook stuff, in particular, just
It's
you've got
not.
quite a few.
I got it. I basically have been doing it for a while now, and I've got the tips and tricks on how to do them. So it's not very difficult for me, actually, to be honest with you. I get alerts, and then I react to the ones I feel like, oh yeah, this one's good, or this one's not good, and oh, this one can wait, or something like that. Or I'll just like close, I'll have approvals set for posts so that if they have to wait in a DMZ before I can approve them or delete them, kind of a thing. Or I'll just close like commenting or something like that. So when things get ugly on a particular post. So I know how to do it. So it doesn't take me a lot of like um, effort really.
Okay, that's quite
Yeah.
interesting. I thought it would be consuming, to be honest. It, it it's I mean, you've obviously got it down to a T, so it helps. And but I kind of thought you'd have to go in, read everything in minute detail, have a think about it, that
Now,
kind of stuff. No, that's
now,
why you
and
gloss over my
I,
comments. Yeah.
and then I'll have people like they'll report like posts or comments, and then okay, I'll react to that, and sometimes depending on the type of groups that I have, like let's say my local town, I know like certain posts, if I approve those, that's going to generate a lot of drama, a lot of like negativity. So I'll just like immediately, I just won't even approve those because I have a sense of it already now, like what's going to work and what's not going to work.
Right.
And and then sometimes I'll just like for the sake of you know humor, I'll just let some things go, and I know they're going to get ugly, and I'll just let them have it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
they
You got
kill
the
each other.
the devil and the angel on your shoulders here. You go on,
Yeah,
press the
yeah.
button. No, don't do it. Yeah, do it. Go for it. And you're in the
Go
middle
for it.
smiling. Oh, I know this one's going to
Let
cause
me
some
know when you
havoc.
guys had enough, and I'll take care of it then, right? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
did I approve that one? I'm really sorry. Let's just retract that.
So
Brilliant.
you were gonna
And
ask me about my background.
I'm going to ask you about your background. I'm absolutely because I mean, so go on, tell me about your background then. So let's go back. So I was going to kind of say when you were talking about your role, your job, was IT what you wanted to do? So what is your background, Harjit?
So I was born in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. That's where I was born and raised. And so when I was around 18 years old, I had an opportunity to go to Canada because my brother had gone there before. Then my sister was there and stuff like that. So it was like a very common thing in Southeast Asia for families to send their children overseas, like to Australia, UK, and US and Canada. These four countries were like, one of the, they would send to their kids there because of education in Malaysia and stuff like that. Is wasn't didn't come by easily and stuff, right? So I had like,
Hmm.
hey, I want to do computer science. That's my thing, and that's what I want to do. So when I when I arrived in Canada and I went to college, immediately I number one I was dealing with culture shock. I was like,
Yeah.
holy cow, what is this? Who are these
So what?
people?
You're
Like
18, you say?
I was 18, right? And I
Yeah.
never experienced winter before, and I was like right smack in winter, and I'm like, what the heck
Jeez,
is this? Like,
what have I
I'm
signed up to?
yeah, I was like, this is so cold, and I was living in the dorms, and my roommates were like, kind of jerks, and with because they were like critique my food that I was cooking because I didn't know anything better,
Right.
right? I'm like, I'm cooking the same way I did back in Malaysia, and I realized, well, you can't really do that because it stinks the place. you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can't really
So
cook curry because it'll infiltrate into everything, and so I'm like, okay,
yeah.
sorry guys, whatever. And so I
Were
learned it
you
that
feeling a bit
way.
out of place there with all that? Were you were you settling in well, or just thinking I'm a fish out of water a bit?
I was a fish out of water a bit, and then so it took me a little while. Then I managed to find a couple of friends who were very interested in my background. They were like, "Hey, I want to be your friend. I want to learn all about Malaysia. Do you guys have McDonald's there? Do you have this? Do you have that? Whatever." And so it was fine. I adjusted really quick. Um, so the way I got into this whole IT thing was that my brother, who was living in Australia, he started doing some business, his own business engagements and stuff like that. He moved down to Singapore, and then he called me down. He said, "Hey, I'm starting this some business ventures in Indonesia. Why don't you come down and help me out? I'll put you up. I'll give you, you'll have a nice life, and I'll pay you a salary." I'm like, "Sure, good." So I went down. I was living the good life. I had a driver. I had maids. It was amazing. It was a really a good
Yeah,
time.
what age are you at
Yeah,
this point?
I
Were
was
you in your 20s?
I was in my twenties. I was in my twenties,
Right.
mid
We're like the
mid
Fresh Prince of
twenties.
Bel Air being chauffeured round, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, it was easy for me because number one, I speak the languages, right? So I speak
Yeah.
over five languages. I speak
Really?
English, Malay, Indonesian, Punjabi, Hindi, and a little bit of French. So for me, it wasn't
So
difficult. I
four and a
knew the
half.
five.
I'm joking. He's a little bit of French. Four and a half. No, no. I'm impressed. I'm mocking it.
So I know the cultures. I know how they do business. I know how they right. So it was pretty simple for me. So from there, I started supporting, um, machine like laptops and stuff like that, and using like satellite systems for internet connection, and
Oh
because we
God,
were
yeah,
all because we had to go out in the remote sites, right,
yeah.
into the almost like a jungle like situation, set up camp and do all that stuff. So I started getting my foot wet that way. Then things started getting ugly because of they ousted the former president of the country, Suharto,
Okay.
who ruled the country for many, many, many years. So everything shut down. So I came back, and one thing led to another. I started working the hotel line. I was, a front desk manager and all that stuff. And there was this company based out of New Jersey, and they started sending out their text to all these hotels because they were changing computer systems and the reservation systems. They were like modernizing it and stuff like that. So this one guy came to my hotel where I was working at, and he said, I'm trying to help him out, and I'm like, hey, what about this? No, what about that? And click here, no, click there, and oh wait, you got this RJ45, all that stuff. And he looked at me and says, dude, you're really good at this. Are you interested in a job like this? I said, sure, yeah, whatever. So he brought my resume back, and within 2 days, I got called. They flew me down to New Jersey, did an interview. I got hired. And then I started traveling around the country, all over the country. I was gone for like 7 days, sometimes 15 days. I'll be home for one or two, then gone again. This went on for about a year. And it started getting a bit difficult at that time for my family because my daughter was really, really young. She was just, I think she was
Okay. So I
very
was going to
young.
say, is it, I was going to say, were you a single guy at that time?
No,
Obviously
no,
not.
no, and so my wife was having challenges with that, and like just
Yeah.
so I finally left, and then I did some certifications at a local training center, and then I found out through someone who was there as well doing the same coursework that they had an opening at the one of the elementary schools, right?
Here.
The K to 12 schools. So I said, hey, yeah, sure. So I went in there, started, from the ground up as a tech and all that, and then moved up to like a network admin and stuff. And then eventually I landed the job at the university, and I've been there ever since. Yeah, and I've moved into like different roles, right? Level one tech support, level two, then sysadmin, then senior sysadmin, and so
Yeah. Worked your way through, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And and I do
Yeah.
consulting work on the side too, and stuff like that. So
And because Vermont is where you live, yeah.
yes.
You've that's near to Canada. Is that
Oh,
right?
I'm just about 30
Nearish.
minutes. I'm 30 minutes from the Canadian border. I'm very close to Montreal. It's just over an hour from where I am. So
And is that where you were living before you got this job, or
yes,
did you move? Right.
right.
Okay.
So I was living in Canada. I was living in Toronto first, then Ottawa, finally in Montreal, where I was living with my wife, and then we moved down to Vermont. Yeah,
Oh. And what is Vermont about then? Is it quite a big place? Obviously, we know it from
it's
the
not a
song.
big state, and it's not very populated. It's like one of the least populated states in the U.S. It's very open, very green, very mountainous. Um, It's nice. I mean, people are very friendly, very nice. It's very popular with tourists because it's very environmental friendly, and there's a lot of maple syrup and things like that here. So you know about Ben and Jerry's ice cream, right?
Oh God, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's created here in Vermont. That's the factory.
Okay.
The original factory is still here, and it's only about an hour from my place. They have,
Uh,
yeah. So
So does that pull in tourists as well? Do they come in? When we go to Seattle, there's the
so
original
so the
Starbucks that
Ben and
everyone's
Jerry's
queuing outside,
factory is the number one tourist spot, tourist destination in Vermont.
and
Number
you've got all
one.
that beautiful scenery, but that's number one, yeah.
It's just the way it's located, the drive way it is. It's in the just by the town of Stowe, and Stowe is a very kind of ritzy kind of town where you get a lot of celebrities and things like that that go down for skiing, and it's a very expensive place. But everybody wants to go to Ben and Jerry's factory. So
That's the place to
that's one
be.
of the, yeah. They have
I think we'd be
busloads
going there if we
every
were to visit.
day. Yeah,
The kids definitely, Ben and Jerry's,
yeah,
yeah, be there for
yeah.
that. But I mean, I've seen some pictures you take quite a few pictures of yourself when you're out and about, and it seems to be. I mean, it looks fantastic scenery wise. Looks really beautiful, and
Yeah,
but
actually, I
it
did.
looks.
I've also considered myself a professional photographer. So I used to do, just basic landscapes and stuff, in the past. And then I started doing portraits, and then that got into, wedding photography, and then events photography, and so on and so forth. And then eventually I got some gigs to do what do you call it, freelance photojournalism. So I'll get
Okay.
contacted by the local newspapers, and they'll say, hey, could you go and cover this event, and then send us the pictures, or can you go do this and do that, and I would do that, and so I'm always published in the paper and stuff like that. So I gave up
Is that
all the
something you
weddings.
still do then?
I still do that from time to time. Yeah, not that often. Is I don't do it for the money because they don't they don't pay much. I just do it just to keep my skills and stuff, and to get out a little bit. But yeah, so I did that, and I don't do wedding photography and stuff like that anymore. That's just too much work. So then,
Yeah.
yeah. So the other thing I do is Instagram. I've got an Instagram account which is just Instagram.com/Harjit, and
Okay.
it's just is definitely my creative portfolio. I would say, like, I everything that I do on Instagram is taken from my iPhone, and is
Hmm.
processed in my phone as well. I use like apps and stuff like that, and then I
Yeah.
upload it. So I don't do anything with Photoshop or with a digital SLR camera, anything like that. It's all legit, done with the phone, processed on the phone, upload it. So you should check that out too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't have an Instagram account, so I was actually chatting to someone last week who said you must do Instagram. Um, and I was like, well, I'm not exactly going to be pouting in front of the mirror with my phone and blah. And he said, no, check it out. And yeah, I must take a look at that. And is it a mix of images then? What kind of are you focused on
So
certain
I
type
got
of
so
shots? Or?
Vermont is well known for the fall foliage, right? The when the changing of
Hmm.
the leaves and stuff, especially in the
Okay.
late September, early October. So during non-COVID 19 days, we have like all the hotels are full. We have tourists that come from Japan, China, Europe, by the busloads, and they do
Hmm.
these tours because the leaves are just changing. And so I do a lot of like foliage, all the different seasons, right? So foliage, the winter pictures. Um, so I'll do some artistic stuff, like I'll manipulate some pictures with some apps just to give it a little twist. Um, yeah, things like that.
So it's a lot of scenery stuff then, yeah. It's not portrait or
No,
people and that. Yeah. Oh,
no,
okay. Yeah.
yeah.
I know one thing when we're at the summit, you that you know you're your photo taking never stops.
I
It's you're
know, right?
constant, you're running around, you're snapping away. And if you're not snapping people, it's a selfie with someone. Come on, have a selfie with me,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And
MVP
you're running
Summit is
around.
really, yeah, MVP Summit is really, really tough because, I'm usually like wherever I go, I'm always snapping like a ton of photos, right? About this and that, about people and stuff like that. And, we have to do the whole NDA thing at MVP Summit.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're like, all right, so I can't take pictures here. I know that's legit. Well, can I take pictures in the hallway? Well, better not, Can I take pictures of this poster or whatever? Like, so it's so, you gotta always go
Got to be
with,
careful.
yeah, you gotta be careful and you gotta go with the mindset that no, everything is forbidden unless otherwise stated, right? So you're always
Yeah,
like outside the buildings, taking pictures or whatever and stuff like that. So yeah, MVP Summit is tough.
yeah, yeah.
I,
But
I,
you were also weren't you part of a social team for Ignite or something? Am I
yes,
right
yes, I did
in
that.
thinking that?
Yeah, I did that a couple of times. I was part of the first community reporters. Um, they selected a couple of years ago, so I was the first batch,
Yeah.
and so we went around did interviews and things like that, and then I've I managed the on day one for the live event at Ignite. We would push tweets and stuff that would come from attendees from the community, right? So I was
Hmm.
up there on the stage with Seth Juarez, you know, people like that, and I would sit there and I would correlate all these tweets that are coming through, and I'll save the ones that are really really funny or really good or had some nice messaging and stuff like that. And then they will switch it over and say, okay, you know what, let's go to our social media desk and what do we have for tweets and stuff, So then we
That's
project them
pretty
out
cool.
and then they show up on a big screen. Yeah, so I did that at least a couple of times, I think. So it's fun.
Yeah, I think you were. You always seem to be like one of the top posters on the social side anyway, because
Yeah,
that's
I do kill it every year though. I do.
there's a little league table and Harjit's number one, Microsoft second.
Well, speaking of that, how this thing all started blowing up for me with Ignite and stuff is that when I first started attending TechEd back in 2013, I was in New Orleans. So I started using Twitter because I was like, I carried a laptop, I think on pre-day or something like that, and I was so sick of it because my battery was running out. There was no place to put it on. You had to put it on your lap, and so cumbersome. So then I decided to say, wait, there's Twitter, and there's these hashtags for each session, right? So I started tweeting stuff that I was listening to in sessions. Either I would take pictures of slides or just like note what the instructor would say, and then hashtag it with the BRK1234, whatever that session name is. And
Yeah,
I started doing that, and then I noticed other people start following what I was doing and were also using the same hashtag. Those that became our note taking via Twitter. So what it is that when you come back home and you do a search on Twitter for that particular hashtag, you get everything that you posted, and not only what you posted, what other people posted too.
yeah,
You see, so
that's pretty good thinking.
that's how I started taking notes, and that's how I was doing it at all events that I would go to. And that's what I
That's
teach
pretty.
people too. I said, don't bother. Yeah, sure, you can do OneNote and stuff like that. That's great. But hey, if you're using Twitter, not only that you're capturing these notes for yourself, but you're helping other people too.
I've just learned something from you there. So
Right?
that's the way to do it, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never really thought about it in those terms. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And so
really.
because sometimes, when we are in like sessions and stuff, we're not always paying attention, right? You listen something, your mind drifts off somewhere else, then you come back and
Particularly when I'm talking, yeah.
yeah,
When I'm presenting, no one's
right.
listening.
So but what happens is that when you pull up some of these hashtags, you're like, oh wait, somebody else captured something that the instructor said that I totally missed. I didn't even
Yeah,
hear it. So you're like, That's great. That's awesome. Or they'll post links, or they'll post a screenshot of the screen that that went by really fast, but they managed to capture it. Things like that. So it's very
Based on the
helpful.
performance of my phone and the way it's useless at taking photographs, they're on to about slide 10 by the time my phone's cranked up. It's like, oh, missed it all, missed it all.
Yeah.
That's pretty good thinking, actually. I'm going to have to start to do that, actually.
And if
You've
you could
saved
do
me a huge amount of time.
Yeah, and if you do any like user groups and stuff like that in your location, and if you want to try to capture screens, I don't know, slides or stuff like that, one app that I would suggest is Office Lens, Microsoft
Oh, yeah,
Office
yeah.
Lens. It's on your Androids and your iPhones, and it's great. I mean, you can be on the side. You don't have to be straight on. You can be on the side. It's AI rendering whatever it does, right?
Yeah.
It captures
Converts
it.
it all, doesn't it? It's
Oh my
pretty
God,
cool.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. So, Arjit, the MVP program, we mentioned going to the summit and things like that. Now, you've
Yeah,
been on board the program just prior to myself getting on board. I think you're 2017 as well, aren't you? Is
yeah. I'm
that
2017.
right?
Yeah, I think January 2017 when I got mine.
Oh, okay, so I'm July, so 6 months later. So your Windows and devices, is that right?
Windows
Is
and
that your
devices, yes, for IT, yes.
yeah? So what does that program in? What is it? What's it about? Is
So
it Windows 10
I,
effectively?
I feel that I don't know because I think I'm a config manager admin. That's what I do day in and day out, right? And stuff
Yeah,
like that. So I also obviously with that said, you're also managing Windows systems, and whether it's servers and desktops and stuff like that. But I found that you know I realized at the end, like there is a criteria to get the designation as the config manager MVP, or then they changed it to what was that, EMS or something like
yeah,
that, and so on. And now it
EM,
just keeps
yeah.
changing it to something else, right? So I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm still doing the same things anyways. It's fine. It's just that you guys have a different distribution list and stuff like that that is closed in for um, the config manager admins, right? And Intune and stuff. So hey, but I'm still able to connect with you guys on Teams and the PGI calls and stuff like that. So basically, Windows for devices for IT covers anything about Windows, really, right? Um, I mean, I do a lot of testing for like all the insider builds, things like that comes through the TAP program. Um,
And is
same
a lot of
stuff.
it based around modern management as well? Is it around the
Yeah, yeah,
Intune
modern
side and
management,
cloud?
imaging and patching. Patching is something that I'm really passionate about. I really enjoy, and I feel I'm really good at it. So yeah, I'm always talking about patching, or you know, sharing about it, or telling people to avoid certain patches. Here's why, and things like that.
Yeah, I think I've seen a few of your tweets like that that have helped
Yeah,
me in the
yeah,
past. I mean, I'm more of an OSD guy, which I'm becoming a bit of a dinosaur, I suppose, now with autopilot and things like that
right.
in the mix. So we change, we adapt, but
Yeah,
patching has never been my focus. I'm doing some stuff around patching at
yeah.
the moment.
I do. Yeah.
Um,
So OSD is not my big cup of tea. I know a bunch of you are really, really very good at it, and that's something you really, really focus. That's not something I focus a lot. Mine, I focus a lot on patch management, on application management. I do deploy a lot of applications. I manage them that way. Um, yeah, I still have a MDT environment for light touch, which still works for my users, and that's what they used to. So hey, that's good. I do
there's a lot
some.
of MDT out there still.
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I've been working with a few trusts, the NHS trusts in the UK, where they have MDT. They haven't got the money to throw at config manager. So
yeah,
how do they build Windows? How do they get stuff out there?
yep,
And it's it does the job, but it becomes trickier with Windows 10
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
around the upgrade side of things and how to manage that. Not having the ability to build a hierarchy as such as well, which you have with obviously config manager. You can put key roles in certain places,
The
and
upgrades are
these
definitely a challenge. It's even from one build of Windows 10 to another, right? It's at the end of the day, like it's what is the impact on the end user? Are they gonna sit there, wait? How long are they gonna wait before the thing spins and says, waiting for upgrade and hold on, we are gonna be right back, and things like that. I mean, that alone causes problems, right? That's when you get all your help desk calls and stuff. Like, when is the right time to push out an upgrade? So it's
yeah
not just as simple as, some environments they're much more tighter and leaner, or they got much more controls and they can dictate that stuff. But when you're talking about places like higher education, universities, things like that, you can't do that. You can't just like, hey, I'm pushing out 1909, whether you like it or not, and it's gonna happen, you know, and you'll
yeah
get a backlash because, like, no, we're teaching a class. No, I'm in meetings. No, I'm doing presentation. No, I'm running a experimental lab for something, right?
yeah.
It's really,
It's
really tough.
it's tricky, and I don't know. Do you have lots of like applications that can cause you problems for upgrades, or is it fairly simple to kind of test upgrades and get them out, not get them out there, but that capability of actually upgrading? Is it simple for you, or is it a
Oh
lot of
no, no,
work?
no. Those application upgrades yeah, those are tough. Um,
Yeah.
I know,
So
I
you
know.
so you'll be limiting, I assume, the amount of upgrades you do. You'll be sort of taking it right to the max for support line or support life, or do you just go, actually, we'll try this every 12 months?
I've been doing so. I've been in my environment. They for some reason, some of these distributed IT people, they'll ask for, hey, so 1903 came out. Can we get the ISO? Can we get it in light touch? And I'm like, yeah, okay, but it just came out. Like, let it sit for a little while, and then, hey, 1909 came out, and we want that. And so I end up having like a lot of different versions in it now,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
out in the wild. So I've been using like config manager, like the feature, what do you call it, the
Feature
servicing,
update.
yeah, the Windows 10 servicing module,
Yep.
and config manager. I've been trying to like upgrade some of the older builds and just pushing it out there, making it available first for X period of time, and then after a while, like, hey, it's gonna happen, So I
And
do it in
what
like,
about the testing process though, Touch? So how long would you be testing for? Do you do any testing first? Do you do like
I
compat scan stuff or anything like that, or
I
telemetry
do.
again?
I
Is what
have
we were
I
talking about
have like
earlier.
several systems in my disposal, so I test those. Right, I'll do as best I can, but I can't always duplicate what the end users have. Right, so I may only have 10 applications, that they have 25, or they have five, but the five that they have are the one of the worst ones that you can imagine. Right, so I can only do the testing on my own stuff and say, okay, I know the upgrade process works. That's all that matters to me. It's
Yeah.
I know it's working from config manager. I know it'll receive the update, and it will install it, and that's it. That's all. And if there's any like issues, then we'll deal with them on a one-off basis.
Right. Yeah, because otherwise you're going to be at
Yeah.
it 24
Otherwise,
7, aren't you?
you'll just stay in your test space forever. You never get out of your test space,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, it's time, resource, and cost ultimately, isn't it, for
Yeah.
people? There's a lot of time you could spend on this. Therefore, the cost goes up. The resources are limited. A lot of IT
Yeah.
companies, stretched as it is already, to then throw this into the mix, it's a,
And
it's a real challenge.
one of the other issues that you deal with is encryption. So things like BitLocker. So if you're using things like task sequences and stuff, which is what most recommend to do, but I find that sometimes when I do task sequences, it doesn't honor the disable BitLocker before it does what it needs to do and then re-enable. Like I think there's like a one reboot, uh, allowance or something like that, right? And then if it has multiple reboots, the BitLocker kicks in again, and then so you run into a lot of issues like that. So I find like when you're doing like the like in place upgrades through the servicing or just having the end users download it from Windows updates, it will take care of all of that stuff. Like it knows what to do with BitLocker. It just does it, in my opinion. Anyways,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. I mean, whenever you do this, you've got to kind of test out the scenarios, haven't you?
right.
Really, and before you implement them, that's that element of testing first. What works for you in your business, and which one is right for you, because there are pros and cons of each. It's for example, the feature update, it's more user friendly, isn't it? It's more I'm not going to enforce this reboot, and I'm not going to take over your computer for 2 hours, and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
So you've got to go through the motions and the testing, and then start to implement, and then pick up the pieces where things go wrong, but try and mitigate as much as you can. But it goes back to those three things: resource, time, and cost. How much time are you going to spend on this? Because the cost is going to go up, but you don't want to be breaking things. Ultimately, that's the challenge. It's a tricky one,
Exactly.
and it's always
Yeah.
interesting to see how different people are kind of working with it and how they cope with it. I mean, the guys we know, Gary and Mike, do a lot of work
Oh
around
my God. Yeah. They're
yeah,
brilliant.
Gary Blocker, Mike Tyrrell do a lot of work around IPU, and it's amazing the stuff they come up with, and it's really appreciative because you can tap into all that, and then you go, well, actually, do I need to take all of that? Probably not, because I'm going to make things very, very complex for the standard admin.
Right.
But I'm going to take elements of that. I'm going to use it, um, and other people's solutions, and make them work for yourself. But it's time consuming. It's tricky, and ultimately, all you want to do at the end of the day is just upgrade your Windows 10. And it, some people I've worked with in the past have gone, oh well, I've got it at home and I upgraded my home PC, and that did it for me in 20 minutes. Why can't we kick this out and upgrade it? And you go,
Exactly. Yeah.
oh, it's
And then
slightly
you're dealing
different.
with drivers, you're dealing with peripherals, you're dealing with
Yeah,
so the corporate
apps.
environment, the enterprise environment is so tough, right? Like if you have like someone has like a I don't know, a dongle for something that is plugged in while you're doing an upgrade, and
Oh
that
God,
could
yeah,
cause it to fail. Or they have it
yeah,
in a docking station, you could have it fail. There's so many variables. Like it's like, geez,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
yeah,
And how many devices are you looking after then, Harjit?
about 5,000 off and on.
That's a it's a fair chunk to deal with. Then you get your
Yeah,
fair share of success and problems with them. Yeah,
yeah, and I do all the patch management too. So I deploy all the patches on a monthly basis to all my servers and
and you're
workstations.
still smiling,
Yeah, yeah.
laughing through it all. Well done.
But this is what I do. So, on Patch Tuesday week, I'm always like monitoring, the feeds, Twitter and forums and, listservs and everything like that to find out, is there something bad? Has anybody reported something? Wait, hold on. There is some reports. Is this just isolated or is it, so I got to be really fast because if my organization, we are very aggressive with patching. We don't wait.
Right,
Like,
straight out. Yeah,
yeah, it's like 2 days and boom, they go on our service. Like, we are very heavy on security, and then we make it mandatory for workstations like the following week, like on Monday. So yeah, you learn, like different from trial and error, like what works for your environment. We used to be really aggressive for end users. Then we realized, wait, yeah, we're forcing reboots and stuff like that during, while they're trying to do things. Or it's breaking some of the experiments that they're running for 2 days and now you suddenly reboot it. So we would like make them like, available for the first first week, and then we'll say, it's going to become mandatory the following Monday or Tuesday at 5 o'clock in the morning. So you can install your own patches, you know, before then, or we're going to force it. So we kind of train our users that way. So they
That's
kind
quite
of,
cool.
yeah. So it took a
Yeah, give them
while.
a bit of choice and let them feel
Yeah,
in control.
right. So we say it's
Yeah,
not, you're never not going to have patches. You're going to have patches and you're going to have reboots. But here's what we can work with. We'll give you some control, but this is all we can do, you know? Because at the end of the day, you're looking at for your best interest of your organization's security, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
one
absolutely,
compromised
absolutely.
system, your entire organization is done.
Well, this is it. It's kind of saying actually we have to push these things out at some point because we
Yeah,
can't not. And but give at least they've got that option to kind of play a little bit first. Oh, I've got some free time now. I can do this, and
right,
then actually now we're going to make sure you're compliant if you've not had chance, or we have to enforce this on you. It's
right.
kind of a similar approach that I've seen one of the guys in the UK, a chap called Chris Roberts, who comes to our Windows Management User Group events in London. He speaks and he works for SAP, and he does a and he supports a huge amount of endpoints. I think it's some ridiculous amount. It's a few 100,000,
Oh wow.
and for yeah, it's crazy. He's a really really good guy, and crikey, he loves what he does. I can really tell. And they took the approach for Windows upgrades in a similar manner. So for your baseline upgrades, they allowed users to they ran a program, a PowerShell script, which said, okay, do you want to be in this effectively like an insider type person? I'm going to get my upgrades really quickly, or do you want to hold back a bit and that sort of thing? And they gave the users that ability to choose. So when it came to actually pushing the baseline out, they knew it was happening, and they were so you had a bunch of people who were really keen to upgrade because they were kind of techie guys, or they were into their phones and that they wanted the latest gadgets, so they go
Right.
on the fast channel. And then people who were cautious, not too sure, they'd go back down the order, and all they were doing was from whatever they chose, they just their machine got dumped into a collection. And it was pretty ingenious way of doing it. Gave them that choice and made them the same way that you're doing with the updates every month. Just gave them
Oh
that
yeah.
option to do it, and I
Oh
thought
yeah.
that's quite cool. Eventually, they'll get enforced, but the user feels a bit more in control with it.
Yeah, and we also
Um,
gave them like a long reboot time frame because that too, like we used to have a shorter one, then we increased it a little bit, then we increased it a little bit. So now, like I think we got like a 10-hour reboot window, and
right,
so if they come in, like for example, if it's mandatory at five in the morning, and if machines are there, they're turned on, they're gonna get updates, they'll reboot after 10 hours. But if users come in, like let's say 8 o'clock in the morning, turn on their laptops or their workstations or whatever, and then the policies run, and oh wait, now you got updates, they'll start installing, and then from that point onwards, it's you know you're looking at 10 hours, which is like at the end of the day, right?
right,
So it gives them the whole day to just do their work and not worry about it, and so it's a lot of like
yeah,
fine tuning and stuff that you had to do.
yeah, and lessons learned along the way, I'm sure as well.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Um, yeah, and nothing worse. You get the noise from the VIP who's doing his presentation. It suddenly reboots part way through. He's disappeared for half an hour, comes into a meeting, comes back, and all his works it's been restarted, and he's like losing it because of that fact. Um, Harjit, how did the MVP thing happen then? We've mentioned you been on the program. How did that happen? Was it just out of the blue? Was it? How did that
Oh, you mean
come
how I
about?
got it?
Yeah,
I tried maybe once or twice before. You know, didn't really get to where it was, and I think it was a lot of like community push that made it happen. So I really thank the community for it. So I've been very, very active in the community, especially through social media stuff and, at events and things like that. So people are finding value like, hey, this guy, you know, he, I don't claim to know everything, right? But I know how to find the resources for stuff. So if someone reached out to me and said, hey, I'm running into this problem, whatever, I'm like, oh, wait, actually, yeah, I do have the answer. Or maybe, wait, hold on. No, I don't have the answer, but I know somebody who does. Or I know how to find the resources for you, and does this help? And so I would connect the pieces for people, right? So I was giving them value like that. So I think at one of the ignites, I can't remember where it was, uh, whether it was Chicago, Atlanta, or something like that. And there were some community members who stopped by the MVP booth and spoke to Betsy, the CPM, and said, "Hey, you got to check this guy out, and you got to meet him." So she put the word out that she wanted to see me. So we just, there was nothing more than just, "Hello, my name is so and so. I'm the guy you've been hearing about, whatever." And that's it. That's all. And put in my nomination. I think we had to all of us had to go through that process. And then eventually, I guess, yeah, I was pretty psyched I got it. And I gotta say though, it's been great. Um, my work, the what I do for the community has increased more than prior to being an MVP. I started doing the same stuff, but then you know how you and we have to log our contributions and stuff like that. So you got to be mindful. But then the doors started opening up for me. Like I started getting to speak at events. I started getting to speak at Microsoft Ignite, which is a very privileged thing, right? Um, and other conferences, and I started getting access to different products, and I get companies will like, hey, could you test out our software and write about it or whatever, and you know, so that really gave me more opportunities to not only learn new things but also then eventually give back to the community because now I'm a little bit more not to say privileged but a little bit more
Things
I
have come to you in a way,
come
haven't they?
to me. So right,
I know
right,
exactly where you're coming from on that.
you
Yeah,
know,
you
so
get,
yeah,
yeah, and
so
it takes up time, doesn't it?
yeah, and
It,
I also have a lot of connections, so I know a lot of people in the community. I know a lot of people at, with the product group, so I know who to reach for to help the community out too, right? So like I said, I don't know everything, but I know how to put the pieces together, how to put the
who
puzzles
the
together.
hell does, eh?
Right, right.
I think it's the good thing is that you will learn from. If you go out and ask
Yeah,
someone a question, you'll learn from that. You've found
yeah,
out for someone else, but you've got that information, and you'll probably retain
yeah.
it. You may not.
I,
Um,
I know there's a
yeah.
lot of irritation in the community. Like I see, like in Facebook groups and stuff, like you get like, other IT pros will ask questions, but there's the people that actually run into issues and they're struggling. They tried everything and they still can't get it fixed. So then they come out like, hey, I've been doing this, I've run. They're a very genuine kind of like, then you got the other subset of people that, hey, I've got this error. Can someone fix it? I got this error. I got this problem. Can someone give me the answer? Oh, can someone give me a PowerShell script? I need to do blah. And then it starts creating a negativity in the community, right? I'm starting to see a trend where now people will like, hey, have you tried Google? Let me Google that for you. Let me do this.
Yeah.
So it becomes very irritating, and I can see both sides of it, right? One side, they don't know how to ask the questions, or they don't know how to seek the help. They make it look like they want other people to do the job for them. And then you got the other side where they're getting really irritated, like, hey, my time is valuable or whatever. So I get hit a lot in that sense too. I get people contacting me privately through WhatsApp, through Facebook Messenger, things like that. And I was like, this is what I do consulting work for too, and like fine, I'll help you out, okay, listen, here's some blog posts and here's some documents from Microsoft. Go read that, then come back to me, when you run into further issues. But I'm not going to give you all the answers, but I'll help you. So I'm not that kind of a jerk where I don't help people and just push them away. I kind of feel bad for them too. So
Yeah, we've
Uh,
all been there, haven't we? You know,
yeah.
we're all asking these questions. I mean, I see sometimes I'll get this message come through and it says Harjit, and I just block it.
Right.
No,
So
that's a
speaking of
joke.
like the whole MVP thing, I I was really fortunate and to be able to speak at the Microsoft Ignite the tours this year. I was like, you know, I represented Microsoft for some of their learning paths sessions, especially in the MEMCM category, right? The new Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So I was able to speak in Milan in January, and then
Oh,
uh,
yeah, I saw you on this tour. Yeah,
yeah,
brilliant,
yeah, and then I went to Johannesburg, South Africa,
fantastic.
and then I did Dubai, and then
Skip
that was
London.
it. But I was supposed to go to Zurich. That got canceled because
Okay,
of COVID.
right. Yep,
Then
yep.
I was supposed to go to, actually, this week I'm supposed to be in Mumbai, and that got
Right.
canceled. Bangalore is
Geez, you're
next
going to be all
week.
over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, so I had a few opportunities, but they didn't pan out. So
And were these
hopefully,
places you'd never been to before then?
well, Dubai I haven't been. Milan I didn't go. I haven't been to any of those places before. So that was
Mm,
interesting. Yeah. So maybe next year. Who knows?
maybe next year. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was going to go to London and didn't even make that, and it's
I know.
effectively 10 minutes away from my house.
Yeah.
But
So
I
yeah,
was
so
ended
for
up on.
your listeners, I'm definitely reachable. I'm not sure how you gonna post this podcast, but I'm definitely always happy to help people and guide people or mentor people and stuff like that. I do mentor a few IT pros in the industry and help them behind the scenes. Also, again, connecting the pieces, or sometimes I'm just a sounding board. Like, hey, I'm struggling with work, or I'm struggling with personal life, or I'm struggling career wise, or something like that, right? So I'm there as a sounding board. You don't always have to be a technical person to be a mentor, right?
Absolutely,
So
absolutely. I know you're one of the good guys, Arjit. And what I do at the end, because I think we've done quite a fair bit tonight, is I get people to shout out where they can reach you. So you've got all the different platforms. You've also
sure,
got,
yeah.
so if you want to run through those,
Okay.
let me know. Yeah.
So obviously they can reach me through Twitter. My Twitter handle is at Hooge, HOORGE. And then I'm also on through my Facebook Tech Connect group. It's facebook.com/TechConnect, Tech Connect with a K. And then I'm on everything. I mean, you'll find me on
I
a
know.
WhatsApp, and um,
We
one of the
can't
easiest,
escape you.
yeah, one of the easiest way to find all my platforms is there's a free site called about.me slash
Yep.
Harjit Dhaliwal, and then you'll
That's where
find,
to go. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And you do the podcast, the Harjit Prayer
yeah.
Show as
I
well.
do the Harjit and
Yeah.
Prayer show. In fact, I recorded a show last night, and I'm gonna push it out tomorrow with prayer. And then I also do the PowerShell podcast with Mick Fletcher. So
Oh, with Mick. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, he's a nice
I've
guy.
met Mick a couple of times. He's a good guy.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And so yeah, we do a PowerShell podcast. We interview people. We have had some really nice guests. Um, so that's coming along.
And
So
then
I was gonna
eventually
start actually.
you do things outside of all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And in fact, it's really interesting that you started this podcast of yours. I actually, where was this? Was it at MMS New Orleans? I think I was. I created new stickers and stuff for my very own podcast that I'm actually going to start. Um, my own, right? Just whether I do my own talking or sharing my own wisdoms, and I came up with a name, Control Alt Jit. you know, I was like, I need something witty. I need something like I don't want it to be just technology or technical. I don't want to have, you know, like yours, right? It's what, two jerks or something like that, right? Or whatever it is, and
Yeah,
uh,
well, just a couple of jerks.
just a couple of jerks, right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
very
that's
open
it.
ended. It's open ended.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
You could talk
I
to
think
somebody, you
so.
know.
The idea around it was that title was the fact that we are, we put on this rock star pedestal that can cause stress or pressure on
Oh
people
yeah,
or whatever.
oh yeah,
But and really, that we are just one of many hundreds and thousands of people in the world who are trying to do their job on a day-to-day basis,
exactly. We're
and
all
we're
trying to
just
survive. Yeah,
we're just regular guys. Yeah, we're just regular idiots trying to get through the day to day, causing problems, fixing them, whatever. So just a couple of idiots was taken. Just a couple of regular
I love
guys, I
it.
think, was taken.
I
So a
love
couple
it.
of jerks. Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't want to be rude to anyone, but we are just a
yeah.
couple of jerks at
When
the
I
end of
kick
the
off
day.
my podcast, I'm gonna have you on too for sure.
All right, yeah.
I
The
won't banter
table
like
is
this.
turned. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. I'm up for it.
All
Well,
right.
Harjit, it's been an absolute pleasure having
Yeah.
you on for this week,
Thank you.
and yeah, by all means, hook me up for the return leg, and we'll do this the opposite way around or whatever it is. And you've just given me an idea as well,
Yeah.
stickers.
No. Anytime, man. It's a pleasure to do this. And if you ever need me again, let me know. And or if
Yeah,
you have more
part two. Yeah, the
other, yeah,
sequel. Yeah,
part two and sequels, right? We can do this forever.
magic. Yeah, we are so far the longest running of the podcast as well. So,
Maybe we
on that
can.
note, we'll leave it there, and it's been a pleasure. Thanks a
All
lot,
right.
Harjit.
Cheers. Thanks a lot,
Cheers.
man. Cheers.